It is well known that Warhammer 40k cranks up everything to 11, to the next level, and nothing can exemplify that statement more than the structures and buildings described in the lore. The planetary structures here are on a truly monumental scale, often pushing the boundaries of what we think is physically possible, and at most times making possible the impossible. These colossal fortresses, palaces and other constructions of the Imperium and even other Xenos races are so large that they define the very geography of the planets they occupy. So let's take a brief dive into them. Let's begin here with the Temple of All Knowledge on Mars, which is absolutely insane in scale. Picture a vaulted roof standing almost a mile high, 1.6 kilometers tall. The place is basically a cathedral for tech worship, built by the Mechanicum right after they formed the Cult Mechanicus during the Age of Strife. Its plasteel shell is lined with these gleaming pistons that aren't just for show. They can actually move the roof up and down. Why? Just to tweak the acoustics inside so worshippers can fine-tune their hymns to the machine god. It's not just big, it is designed for a reason, to make their chants, their sounds perfect in a space that's practically colossal. Then going to Terra, on the Imperial Palace we have the Great Observatory in Sanctum Imperialis. And this too is mind-blowingly huge. Imagine a dome that's 2 kilometers high and a whopping 4 kilometers wide. That's bigger than many small cities here we have today. It's built entirely from solid marble, which just adds to the epic vibe. To even get inside, you'd have to climb these massive steps that are 300 meters wide, etched with portraits of ancient astronomers that nobody remembers anymore. Right at the center, there used to be this incredible device called the Obsidian Speculum, which let people observe galaxies far, far away. Unfortunately, the observatory and the speculum got wrecked during the Siege of Terra during the Horus Heresy, but even when it's damaged, you can still tell it was one of the most awe-inspiring places ever built. So off to the strongholds of the Space Marines. We first have the Vilamus, the fortress monastery of the Marines Eren. It is described as a formidable target, built to be practically unassailable. The place is surrounded by throbbing power shields that block teleportation, and it has heavily armored bastions armed with massive laser batteries capable of blasting targets straight out of orbit. Despite all that firepower and defense, though, Huron Blackheart managed to raid the place in late M41, proving that even the mightiest fortresses aren't really invincible. The Fortress of Hera on Macragge is also another absolutely massive structure, built by Roboute Guilliman himself during the Great Crusade. It sits high above the capital city called Magna Civitas, in the valley of Lapinis near the Hera's Fall. This place is more than just a fortress, it is a masterpiece of engineering and culture. The fortress has these stunning golden geodesic domes that are citadels in their own right, with graceful balconies and sleek glass walkways supported by gleaming silver steel buttresses. Inside of it, it's not just about military strength, it's a hub for learning and artistry, with grand art halls, academies and even the legendary library of Ptolemy, which rivals the greatest repositories of knowledge on Terra and Luna. Coming back to Terra again, we have the Forbidden Fortress, also called the Fortress of the Astronomicon or the Hollow Mountain. It is absolutely massive, practically a hidden empire within the Himalayan mountains on Terra. The fortress stretches deep into the rock and runs through the entire mountain range. It is so vast that the chamber of the Astronomicon itself is a gigantic spherical chamber with a mountain peak shaped to form the upper half of the sphere. Surrounding the fortress are enormous city-sized emitters that broadcast the Astronomicon's power across the galaxy, and all of it combined rivals the size of the Imperial Palace. The whole thing is connected to the Golden Throne by impossibly huge cables that run through a trench hundreds of kilometers deep, lined with the Mechanicum tech with gun batteries and void shield arrays for defense. This place is colossal. It's ancient and vital for the Imperium, holding together the lifeline with its sheer scale and intricate systems. Then let's head on to other strongholds of the Space Marines. We have the Raven Spire, the fortress monastery of the Raven God on Deliverance. It is a massive and very eerie, creepy place. Once a glorious stronghold, It's now more subdued, with much of its grandeur faded. The structure is still vast though, but only a few hundred Space Marines occupy it at any given time. Huge sections of the Raven Spire are either sealed off or left gathering dust, patrolled by only creepy robed servitors whose bionic limbs echo through the quiet halls like whispers of the dead. At its peak stands the Eyrie, the tallest tower and the former ruse of Corax himself. It is a deep place of mystery. The stasis fields there are only turned off during dire emergencies when the chapter seeks guidance from the spirit of their Primarch, Corvus Corax himself. If you're wondering where the rock is, the Angelicaster, the Tower of Angels, well, we didn't really include it here cause it's more in space rather than on a planet. Yeah, it's like a mobile fortress now. Anyway, another fortress monastery is the Arx Angelicum on Baal, which was originally built during the Great Crusade to house the entire Blood Angels Legion that consisted of at least 100,000 Astartes, which means it was designed for scale. Even after the second founding, when the Blood Angels became a chapter and their numbers were drastically reduced, the fortress was still so huge that big sections of it were abandoned. During the devastation of Baal, the Tyranids nearly overran the entire fortress, and Dante and the surviving Blood Angels made their last stand there. But afterwards, much of the place was left in ruins. Now, thanks to Dante's position as regent of the Imperium Nihilus, he is leading a massive reconstruction effort, not only just to rebuild the Arx Angelicum, but to expand it into something more like a miniaturized Imperial Palace. The end goal is to make it a capital for the other half of the Imperium, the Dark Imperium. So yeah, it's not just as large as a Hive City, but it's on track to become something more, one of the most important and impressive structures in the near future of the galaxy. So structures of the Chaos Forces are sometimes too immaterial to describe and to scale up, but there is one that is somehow physical and iron. The Eternal Fortress built by Perdurabo on Sebastus Foe. It is absolutely massive, covering a staggering 32 square kilometers or about 20 square miles. To put that into perspective, that is like a small city, but instead of streets and parks, it was packed with hardened bunkers, towering defenses, endless trenches, and all kinds of brutal obstacles like minefields, tank traps, and razor wires. And it didn't stop there, it even had a maze of underground tunnels and defenses arranged in the shape of an 8-pointed star of chaos. The whole entire thing was a giant death trap designed to grind down the Imperial fists. During the event of the Iron Cage, at the very center of it all, there was this massive command bunker, which was just a decoy, completely useless strategically, and the real purpose of the fortress was to lure the enemy in and inflict as much damage to them as possible. Yeah, so that's the entry from the Chaos Forces. So when we go back to normal humanity, when we look at where most of the people in the Imperium lives, it is absolutely tragic. They reside in what are called Hive Cities, and one of them, which is very notable, is Hive Primus. Although just a run-of-the-mill Hive City, Hive Primus on Necromunda is still absolutely massive. Like a bunch of cities, stacked one on top of each other, reaching into the sky. It is located in the planet's northern hemisphere, surrounded by other hives like Hive Palatine, Hive Trazior, and Hive Temenus. The centerpiece of Hive Primus is the Spire, which is mind-blowingly tall. It rises 10 miles from the ground, piercing through the clouds into the lower atmosphere, so that's 16 kilometers. At the very top of the spire is the palace of House Helmar, the rulers of Necromunda. Below that, the rest of the spire belongs to 6 other noble houses, all controlling their own towering domains. This hive isn't just big, it's a vertical empire, but it also goes downwards into the planet's crust, stretching from the ash-covered wastelands below to the skies above. Then we also have Hive Tertium on Atoma Prime, which is one of the biggest hive cities in the Imperium, and it is the capital of that planet, so it is seriously massive in scale. Unlike most hive cities, it is a bit more open and less cramped. While it still has that classy hive city feel, layers upon layers of steel and metal, Tertium has huge open cavities that let void ships in and skyfighters fly through and actually stay inside the hive. These massive gaps are so big that they almost make you feel like you're under open skies, until you look up and see the steel dome above, marked by huge stalactite-like or inverted tower structures. The city seems like it's built on stilts too. You can see massive poles holding up the lower levels of the hive. The spires are actually so tall that they break through the atmosphere, reaching out into space. And Hive Tertium is a gigantic structure towering both vertically and across, making it one of the most imposing and impressive hive cities in the Imperium. And just like other hive cities, its structure also goes downwards into the crust, the Underhive, the place where the Chaos cults are growing and are about to take over Atoma Prime. I'm pretty sure that some of you Viking fans are thinking right now, where is the Fang, the Space Wolves? Well, here it is. Next to the Imperial Palace, the most well-defended fortress is the Fang of the Space Wolves. The Fang is absolutely incredibly massive, one of the largest fortresses you'll ever find in the entire Imperium. It is built into the heart of the planet Fenris itself, on the tallest mountain, inside the tallest mountain as well. From the outside, it looks like a great fang rising above the other lower peaks. This fortress is so big, it actually pierces the planet's atmosphere with its docking points for spacecraft directly attached to the top of the mountain. Anyway, the fortress is covered in armor so thick it could withstand a direct assault from the biggest Imperial warships of, let's say, the Inquisition or the Grey Knights, and well protected by void shields that are even stronger than those on the mightiest vessels of the Imperial Navy. Hidden within the mountain slopes are vast laser batteries capable of obliterating any threat from space. The top of the Fang houses the fleet dock, where hundreds of ships are moored. Inside the Fang, things get even bigger. There's a Fang Thane, a massive hall that connects key areas of the fortress. It is so large that it fits hundreds of thousands of chapter serfs and contains a massive statue of Leman Russ. From there, the fortress extends down into the earth, with sub-levels like the Hold, the Internal Fortress, and the Hammerhold, which houses the chapter's forges. The deepest parts are guarded by Borak's Seal, which protects the passages leading to the Underfang, a vast subterranean network that stretches deep below the surface. So yeah, that's the Fang for you. Now, not all structures in the galaxy are made out of concrete or plasteel. Some are living, they are organic. So while Tyranids are known for their size with the giant bioships of organic design, they are more so less known for the even massive tubular structures, the capillaries which extend from the planet to space during an invasion, sucking up the biomass into the hive ships. However, even more mysterious is what was seen with Hive Fleet Tiamat on the planet called Zeophoria. The Nids there have built an absolutely massive psychic structure that blows the minds of anyone who sees it or comes near it. This thing is huge. It is a continent-spanning organic conical shape made up of chitin and soft brain-like mesh. The structure is so big that it covers an entire continent and pulses with immense psychic energy. It's not just a small building or fortress, it's more like an enormous living, breathing monument to the hive mind's presence on Zeophoria, or maybe a new hive mind. The scale of it is enough to leave even the Eldar Rangers, who discovered it, completely stunned by its size and power, and some of them are killed outright. Then lastly we come back home to Terra, and here we have the buildings and structures of the Imperial Palace. Firstly, let's just say that the Imperial Palace isn't just big, it is a colossal marvel of human architecture and engineering that dominates the entire continent of Asia on Terra, with its heart situated on the Tibetan Plateau and the Himalayan mountains. From orbit, it is an imposing sight with massive monolithic and pyramidal structures rising kilometers into the sky. These towers are connected by vast walkways, and the palace itself is dotted with landing pads for ships, with massive defense weaponry and fortifications to protect the Emperor and the Imperium. The sheer scale of the palace gives it a presence that dwarfs any other structure in the galaxy. So when you think about the size, it's not just about height, though the structures do rise far into the sky, breaking through the cloud layers, with some of them piercing even the atmosphere and reaching far out into space. The macro habs, which are enormous city-sized residential and industrial zones, extend far beyond what you'd think of as a building. They stretch into the atmosphere and even out into the void of space itself, housing untold numbers of people, servitors, and soldiers. They're more like floating cities than mere living quarters. Then at the same time, there's the depth beneath the surface. The sub-levels of the Imperial Palace go hundreds of miles down into terraced bedrock, with countless corridors, catacombs and hidden chambers. Some of these depths are so far beneath the surface that they have completely cut off from the world above. These lower levels house everything from the administrative centers of the Imperium to the secret vaults filled with relics and ancient, long-forgotten secrets and technology. The deepest reaches are known to be sacred ground, perhaps even holy, with certain places that only the most trusted custodians or the Emperor himself can enter. So while the Imperial Palace seems more like a continent-sized city, it is still a singular structure built for a singular purpose, and that is to ensure the dominance and continuity of humanity and the Emperor all over the galaxy. And so with that, we end this video on the tallest and biggest buildings and structures in Warhammer 40k. So if you like this video, then watch this other one too. And if you want to browse for other sci-fi content, then check out our channel. Till the next time, take care, boys.